All right. There we go. I guess. Let me sit over here and hide. 104 study Monday. Switch off photo shoot. Save as 104. Switch back. Yes. Hey Zelin Atski, how's it going? How's it going? Happy Monday. How was the weekend? Mine was busy. Taking care of my daughter. Trying not to go insane. So today is midday happiness, sunshine, happy joy. And I want to see and emulate this kind of broad day, midday, high sun type thing. Hey Stonic, how's it going? Fight Milka, what up? Happy Axe Murder Sunshine? Yeah. Hey Frox, how's it going? Good morning. But yeah, so that's the idea of today. We have done nighttime, low value, low saturation. We did early morning, which is a combination of midday in terms of value and midnight or nighttime in shadow. And now we're gonna go all out daytime, try to emulate the reference, try to understand what makes the reference what it is, what it does to the colors, and so on. We'll see. Not to have school in the morning. Oh, nice. Cool. Right, let's start. Background color. I guess Happy Days Sunshine Blue to start with, just to get an idea. If you look at the shadows on his stripes, there's quite a warm bounce light, and if you look at his jeans, they are quite blue, the far left guys, but they are warm in the edges. It's something I gotta remember. And the light is quite there. Hey Kraskar, how's it going? What's up? Hey Frenchy. Good morning, Frenchy. It's interesting to see, if you look at the guy's shoulder, the kind of intensity of the folds, there's such a high contrast folds. Yet on the rest of his body, it's the same kind of folds, but it doesn't have that high contrast. Which you only get, by the way, if the light source is high intensity. If a high intensity. The softer the light source, the less intense the light, the softer the shadows, and the transitions are lower. And some pretty cool news. Fight Milk, hey Fight Milk, has accepted the challenge to learn Adobe Effects, After Effects, and learn to animate. And he sent a sample test he did of one of my concepts, just for, I guess, learning, and it looked pretty cool. So we're going to move ahead, and he's going to help animating the hype trailer for, or the opening sequence for Unreal Bjorn 3, which is great news, which is really cool. Very kind of him, and I'm excited. All around applause for Fight Nick. I mean, listen, I mean, any animation is cool. I'm just happy it's being done. I mean, if you look at all my other hype trailers, it's just me cutting shit together in an editing program and slapping sound effects on and violating kung fu movies by heavily editing the scenes. So it's like the standard doesn't need to be that high, but I mean, by the sample that you sent, it's already, you know, more than enough. So it's cool. I think I need to go brighter, by the way. The white, the white is too yellow. And the shadow needs to be hard, because much like on the shoulder, if the light source is strong, the shadows are sharp. Frogs, yeah, more or less a month. And hopefully the sign up aspect will be implemented soon. They are on it, so I think it'll be good. Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be fun to start doing Unreal Bjorn. I will do a logo reveal soon as well. I got to do that too. And I will send out invites to the judges I have in mind. Today, everything will start rolling. You better get ready. Oh, where did the ref go? Oh, there. Has to, yeah, I have to have some cool tones. That's way too dark. It lasts 3 months? No, more like 5. More towards 5 months. The setup is you know, 2 weeks per round. Yeah, 2 weeks per round, 1 week break in between each round for the judges to deliberate, for the judges to write feedback, and so on. And then 2 weeks deadline, and then 1 week off, so forth and so on. So the fact that it's a lot of waiting in between, it's not a lot of waiting. It's 1 week for the judges to go through. I mean, round 1 is 100 artists, so it's 100 submissions, 100 comments, more or less, that they have to write, and then half that, and then half that, then half that. So, you know, last year was 5 or 6 rounds. Hey, Shartha. Captain Paus. How's it going? Miguel. And Krasgar, how's it going? Hey, Mel. So, Bloco, if you want to do the study is time of day. I will show you. Last time we did night. The time before we did early morning. I envisioned like winter morning. And today I'm making broad daylight. Trying to kind of make that come across, with intensity, color intensity, and all these things. It's a practice of value and practice of palette for you to be able to simulate what happens with the colors in different lighting conditions. Midday has brighter colors, more saturation. Middle of the night has less value, less saturation, so on forth and so on. Karl Kopinski is a cool guy. I met him many times. We're like bestest friends. No. It's so interesting things that happens with saturation and color if you look at the ref. This ref, by the way, isn't available if you type apostrophe ref. You will only get the line art by Michael Kenji. Ice dye, yes, exactly. You're my bestest friend, Carl. And Carl is like, who? Who are you? Do you remember the time when we were laughing, but I was doing the laughing and you kind of didn't hear me? That was really fun. Right? Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm no Karl Kopinski, but I've had moments like that with some people who I've met like 5 minutes at the workshop, and they act like we are the bestest friends. And it's a little bit scary. It's like, I mean, it's cool and all to make friends, but some people are occasionally quite scary in how happy they are and how they think that you've bonded and created this everlasting friendship bond. Sadly, what happens is when you are on workshops and you're one of the instructors, is that it is so many people always talking to you. A lot of times it's really hard to remember who is who and what's been said and so on. Not because of spite or anything, but because of the sheer volume of people. Yet those crazy people are like, yummy, awkward moment. Definitely. What made me want to start streaming? Well, first of all, I streamed back on another channel called Livestream. As more or less as soon as you could start doing it. I kind of intrigued by the medium. I used to sketch and draw on a website called like Paint Chat many years ago. I also used Open Canvas. The whole idea of being with similar-minded and sharing online presence, like breaching the wall, right? We're all behind computers, and streaming somehow breaches that wall a bit, that you get to meet someone, you can interact with someone, which is cool. I mean, a lot of times we are quite lonely in our art dungeons, and I've always liked the idea, and I've always streamed or tried to kind of reach people, right? And so when I did that on live stream, I really enjoyed it, and I then switched to Twitch and just kept streaming. And one of the things why I do this stream is for educational purposes for you guys, more or less. Like, I don't need to do this online. I can easily do all my studies, all my theory thinking, all these things offline. I don't, in theory, don't need to sit here every day and openly share my knowledge. I do it for, actually, I purely do it for you. Hello, bestest friend. Hey, August Megler. Cheers for that host. Host. Ice die, yeah. Ice die. I don't need you. No, but obviously, I'm doing it. I'm doing it for you guys, for education, for helping people, helping your fellow man out. But also, I like talking to people. I think I'm an educator at heart, even though I'm not running like a school here. It's more of like a daily warm up, but I do share a lot of thoughts and theories that help you. And I also feel that it's a form of self-education as well. And it's not purely, what's it called, when you only do it to help at your own loss. It's a specific word. Anyways, I gain from it as well. I gain a lot of things from it by doing these streams, because in order to explain something, you have to understand it. And by me trying to understand what I want to tell you, I have to learn it. And by me learning it, I forward myself. So it's a way of forcing myself to go out of a comfort zone. And also, like, if I would just do this offline for myself, a lot of the topics would be the same, a lot of the explorations would be samey, because I wouldn't be challenged the same way. So a lot of it comes from me wanting to up my game, not be standing still. That's one of the I'd say that was the biggest reasons why I decided to keep streaming on a schedule officially, you know, on a everyday type setup. Because clearly I'm not doing it for the views. Otherwise I would have done different topics, way more boobs. I would have way more cleavage. Um, and the camera would be higher up, looking down for some strange reason. Austin. Well, thank you. Well, thank you, sir, for Austin. I mean, a girl can be Austin, right? An American girl can be Austin, can't they? Or is it with an I? Austin? Austin. Pardon my ignorance. I am not American. I do not want to offend, sir, madam. It attack helicopter, sir. Shame, shaman. Yeah, it is tricky and it's fun to do it, drawing and talking. Shaman, not charity. No, it's like not idealistic, but truistic. A truistic? Is that what it's called? Like give on even your last shirt on your back. Altruistic? I don't remember. I kept them both. Send nudes, yeah, for sure. Austin, that's cool. Hello, sir. Altruistic. There we go. Big brain word. There we go. Thanks. Yeah, like I said, I am not English. So English is my second language, or third, or fourth, or fifth. I don't know where it places. But English is not my primary. So sometimes it's a bit hard to remember what the words are. But I try. So the challenge here, again, for all you new people, is to do different times of day. So this is the third and last. I have done midnight and early morning, and now I'm doing midday. So here's night, here's morning, winter morning, here's midday. Process of midday. My first language is Viking. Yeah, it's Old Norse. Hey, Blue Goat. What's up, Senior Blue Goat? Frogs, how to get better at proportions? There's no other way to learn proportions than practice measuring. Measure, 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 measure. Do measuring. Life drawing measurement is like arm straight out, put your thumb up by the pen, measure the length of it, and then measure the drawing. Does it match? But there's a lot of measuring. The other ways of measure is like you can draw a box, right, of the head on paper. Then you know that like half of the box is where the eyes are. Then that box again goes to the elbow approximately, and then in the middle of that box is where the thing is. And then if we do double that box out to the right, it's approximately where the middle of the blade is. And then you can measure again. You can measure this distance again, would probably be down to the feet. Great. The knees are over there. And those are the kind of things you can do to measure, right? And you can, the more you do those measuring, the more you try to figure out how it actually works in terms of proportions and relationships, the more you practice your eye to see that. And when you get really good at it, you're not going to have to measure too much, but every artist have to measure, especially if they draw something from life, right? Because it has a specific proportions from the specific angle and you can't cheat. So you need to be able to see where the proportions are and the angles are and the relationship between them. But the more you practice that, the easier it is to see the mistakes. Like some of your mistakes that you posted on Discord was clear proportion mistakes. If you measure like the nose versus her nose versus the nose relationship to the eye, the size of the eye relationship to her nose and head shape and all these things, right? And when you make those kind of mistakes, I mean, I am guilty, hand up, of being poor at measuring. We all know this. When I do trying to copy accurately, I do these mistakes. I know it, and it's one of my weaknesses because I'm not a fine artist. I don't practice accuracy. I practice imagination, and I'm concept artist more than a fine artist that's able to reproduce photorealistically or accurately, right? So some artists, they spend a lot of time copying the reference exactly perfectly with artistic flair. That's great. Some people are great at that, and that's one of their strengths. And you can ask them to draw a tentacle monster, and they would be like, "Where's the still life?" You know, and that's fine. We're all needed in different parts of the industry, right? But my part is to be the accurate replicator. My part is to create something new. But nevertheless, I should practice being accurate, and I do that now and then. And I'm bad at measuring before I jump into painting, or measuring before I jump into taking the drawing further than planning phase. I do this every time I do something. I jump ahead and say, it's accurate enough. And then I push the drawing forward, and then I stumble and have to go back and correct and can't move forward with confidence because I'm correcting my mistakes because I rushed. And you shouldn't rush. You should take your time and measure before you proceed in the sketch phase. Ritas. Learning anatomy and you're overwhelming. Yeah, for me too. One of the things I did with learning anatomy is study it in terms of proportions underneath. For me, Glenn Vilppu works really well in terms of anatomy, how he thinks. You should look into all the classic anatomy teachers like Loomis, Hogarth, all of those, and study them and read about their techniques, because for some people, Hogarth is the one and only, versus some people say, I hate Hogarth, I don't draw like him, I go with Loomis all day, every day. So it's important that you kind of educate yourself to learn where you are on the spectrum in terms of style and form. I mean, some people are line artists, some people are carve form more. I am one of those who think three-dimensionally in forms rather than lines. So for me, I can't do Loomis. I tried so many times to understand what Loomis is talking about, but my thinking is way more towards Hogarth or Glenn Vilppu. Glenn Vilppu is a life drawing teacher that talks about drawing through the form and behind the form, and not just the silhouette where two forms meet to create a line, but actually, what's behind the shoulder. Where does the shoulder sit on the torso, and a lot more like constructive or constructional. So practice that, and what I do that helps me a lot is I draw from what I see. When you're drawing life drawing, and I draw as well as I can, and then I go back after the fact and see where's the biggest glaring mistakes, and I try to study those areas where I have made those mistakes, so that I can limit the mistakes I'm doing next time. Let's say I did the biggest mistake was on my shoulder, so I deliberately spend some time studying shoulder system, or how it sits, or what's the basic form of the shoulders, so that the next time I do life drawing, I know that my shoulder game is going to be a little bit stronger. And then the next time, okay, like I messed up with the neck, I have no idea how neck works. So after that session, I would go and look into necks and do some call out studies and figure that out, and then rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, until you're familiar with anatomy enough where you can more or less draw it from memory, spot, isolated. Blue Goat, draw. I've talked about this many times, but draw every day. Don't care about what you're drawing in terms of it has to be perfect. Draw, 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 draw. And I teach this at the studio where I work. Everyone has to do these warm-ups that I do every day. And you'll see the progress just by doing it every day, experimenting with techniques, drawing something. Oh, it was ugly. And tomorrow is a new morning. I'll draw something else next morning. And it's without pressure. And eventually you'll start learning your own process, because you want to do more every half an hour, right? You want to push what you can produce every half an hour. So you start experimenting and testing. And what if I do this first? And because you only have 30, you take shortcuts to get more expressed in a shorter period of time, which then in returns makes you faster, makes you work without pressure more, and it just keeps looping, keeps looping, keeps looping, and eventually you'll find yourself just enjoying creating and not stumbling on process or topic or without pressure of having to have this perfect thing in your mind, because every time you do it, you get a bit better at chasing that picture in your mind, and you remove that fear. Fear is usually what keeps you from fully exploring, and then process it, what keeps you from drawing what's in your mind. Like you don't know how to proceed, you don't know how to explain the form, you don't know how light works well enough for you to have that moody feeling that's in your mind. But the more you know, the easier it is to translate. Like I've said it many times, like there's implicit and explicit mind states. Um, Implicit is autopilot, where you use everything you know that you repeated thousands of times. You're in the zone, time stops existing, you're drawing, and then you wake up all of a sudden, and 1 hour is gone, and you have this drawing, right? That's implicit mind state. Explicit mind state is conscious recall. I do the example on my lectures that if you ask a basketball player mid-game, in the middle of dribbling and shooting, like how do you position your fingers when you hold the ball, and how do you do with your feet, and he'll start thinking about it and he'll miss, because he's out of the zone, he has to consciously recall that information, and he can't do what he does automatically. And explicit mind state is that, and explicit mind states has to be studies, practice, repeating, observing, drawing, fundamentals, and then implicit is where you just stop thinking about, is this right or wrong? What angle is the pen I'm holding in? What's perspective point? Is you shouldn't think about those. You should just create, right? And when you're creating, just be in the zone. Stop recalling information. Just draw. And then when you're done with the drawing, look at the drawing, go into your explicit mind state and think, all right, where am I making mistakes? Did I do the mistake when I started layering the color, or when I did the line art? Or, oh, I don't really know how shoulders work. You shouldn't stop yourself while drawing a shoulder. Like, oh, you just draw. Don't care, just draw. And the more you do that, the more comfortable you're going to be in being creative, and the less pressure and restriction you're going to have. And you're just going to be able to draw. Maybe you'll draw an ugly drawing, but every time you do that, you're going to get better. And you want to get to a point where your explicit and implicit mind states, your result really doesn't matter, because you've practiced, you understand your flaws and process so well that, like me now, I'm sitting and talking at the same time as I'm painting, and at the same time as I thinking about how things work and so on. And I have another layer of speed and another layer of focus if I don't speak and talk, because I don't need to be in conscious recall. I can go to implicit mind state and just put on my favorite music and paint, right? But the end result will be the same. It will just be faster, uh, because of practice. Glenn Vilpo is that old man, yeah. He's an old Swedish guy, I think. And doing this, like this fluidness and creativity, is liberating also when you get to do client work. They say, we want the monster. It's like, monster? Pff, easy. You know, instead of the fear, like, ugh. It's liberating. I mean, this works great for concept artists, for sure. And also a fine artist in terms of, or an illustrator in terms of being in the zone and practicing and studying. It is. And it's like martial arts, you know. That's why you stand and do the kick 1,000 times in practice. Then you go and fight. You don't want to be thinking about rotate the hip, extend the knee while fighting. You're going to get a fistful of face full of fists, you know. You want to be in the zone and fight and not think about leg positioning. So practice that. That's why my sketchbooks are not works of art. Like, they're not this cherished, like you have to put on gloves to flip the page. My sketchbooks are, I destroy them. I just draw and draw and draw, and whatever comes out comes out. And breakfast plates. Like in my sketchbooks, like I draw a lot of different things. I can, you know, oh yeah, I like that one. I'll work that one up, or I'll just keep sketching and testing and like bad things, moderately okay things, and you just keep drawing. But it doesn't matter that this isn't perfect. It doesn't matter that this isn't. Who cares? It's when I'm in the final, when I'm, you know, having that, when I have to perform all that bad sketches, all those explorations, all that thinking that goes into failing and exploring something, I can lean on. If you never fail and learn from the mistakes and understand, okay, that's a bad shape, I should do this shape differently. My arms are bad, or whatever. If you never do that, you're going to be scared of doing mistakes. And if you know what's bad, you know what's good, and you can never learn that unless you try it. You know. Frogs, what's the scariest thing you've ever drawn? Trying to capture the beauty of my children when they were babies. I failed horribly. Stonic, absolutely. I love doing ink drawing as well. Stonic, yeah, I make notes of my mistakes. I don't have one of those sketchbooks here, but like usually, like if I have a sketchbook like this and I messed up the legs, I'll write practice legs, idiot. Make an arrow, or like if I have a thought like, oh, like faces need better proportions, or why do I have boring characters, I will make a note like, remember to always have expressions, or whatever, you know. Because writing it down and then being reminded by it is way more powerful than just having it in your mind. Oh, I should have better expressions. And then what was that? Oh, is the milk out in the fridge? I need to go and then you don't know, you know. What was that about characters? Oh, shit. This happens all the time. No variables. It was what one of the scariest things I've drawn, and it was trying to capture the beauty of my newborn babies, which I failed at because they are magical. All right, let's find someone to raid. I gotta design stuff for games. Max. All right, let's raid Max. So as per usual, we're gonna raid Max, not Max necessarily a usual, but raid after the stream. See you guys for tomorrow morning. We're gonna do maybe switch IP. I have a couple of IPs we can explore. Let's think about that, or maybe 3D. I don't know. Let's see what tomorrow's warm up brings, or maybe chat topic. That could be fun. Anyways, outro time. Good night if you're in that part of the world. Have a great day if you're in this part of the world. Happy future if you're in Australia, mate. All right, have a good one. Outro then raid.